like sections, like maybe one day, etc.?
I feel like, I mean, because I've watched the first episode and the second episode, and obviously they're quite long. I feel like for me, it's just for me, if I'm just talking about me, I enjoy these kind of things. I like conversations that kind of meander and like different people kind of throwing in different ideas and like seeing things generate from like, okay, you know, maybe James will say something or Tashoma will say something, and you know, it would just kind of like, using my hands to describe what I'm trying to say but not finding the words, but kind of, you know, do this thing from wherever. So yeah.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, members of the decentralized movement, we are here today with our new guest, Azeezat. She's based in London. We've got Josh, Mercy, the usual crew, James and Sidney. We're expecting another guest to appear today. But for now, I believe we can give some updates regarding Liquid, which is the project which we were talking about last week. We spent the whole topic talking about. Any updates you want to give, DC?
Hear me? My volume good?
Yeah, we got you.
We're good. Yep.
Yeah. So quick updates. Don't want to take over. Thanks for being with us as well, Azeezat. It's great having you. So the white paper released, we dropped that this weekend on the website. Tashoma, awesome job. Whole website redesigned, built it from scratch. Looks amazing. Please go take a look. Liquidprotocol.com. Got a lot coming out soon in terms of frequently asked questions and intros, documentation. You know, some things behind the scene with development partners as well. So really just hitting on all fronts. The DC fund opens on the 23rd, so we'll be submitting, I think, right around that time to get our proposal funded and get going on the MVP. And that's where we're at right now.
Oh, dope. So did anyone get their staking rewards with ZOEPool this week? Azeezat, are you staking with ZOEPool yet?
I'm literally not yet. I'm just about like, I just like downloaded Linux on the computer that I have. So I'm really, really slow. Like,
you downloaded Linux?
No, like as in not download, like, you know, like installed it into the computer and then like I downloaded it onto a USB and then I kind of like divided the computer into two and then
two partitions, and you're going super technical.
Nice steps. Yeah, super secure.
I'm just going to jump in here real quick. April, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now, and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. I know it's like super late in Nigeria as well right now, right?
Yes.
Could you just like do us the favor of like telling us a bit about yourself and how you even came across Cardano and ended up setting up a staking pool that's making us all like a fair bit of money?
Okay. My name is April and I'm from Nigeria. I heard about blockchain, Cardano, cryptocurrency, everything blockchain in 2019, September. My friend actually introduced me to this space, and my friend actually happens to be Joshua. Joshua introduced me to the blockchain space last year. We're having a conversation and he brought it up on like, April, have you heard of blockchain tech? So I was just hearing it for the first time. Cryptocurrency, Cardano, I was hearing everything for the first time. So he explained and gave me some articles and tutorial videos for further understanding. And I got to know about it. Before now, my goal was actually to become an ambassador and to be a voice to the voiceless, to help people. And I'm actually a law student, so I'm in that part to help people, defend them, bring justice, serve justice the right way. So after I got to learn about blockchain and what Cardano has for Africa, it motivated me the more to go into it and actually now I want to be a blockchain lawyer, advocate for blockchain, and creating a stake pool was very challenging, because the whole I was entering a whole new world entirely. The terminologies, everything was so weird, but with the help of the community, I was able to do that. Like Hoga, it got to a point. It was so difficult, overwhelming. I lost some funds. My pledge, actually, I misplaced my pledge. I had everything was just so tough, and I was helpless. I looked for help everywhere. And just right there, Hilka texted me and like, okay, April, I'm going to help you. I was so happy. I was like, okay, we have a great community here. Hilka helped me and he recovered those funds and, corrected my wrongs and set up everything for me for free. He didn't even take any money. So I was really happy. And
1 second, April. Sorry to cut you. So we have our guest referee here today, Azeezat.
Hi, April. Good evening.
Hi. Hi.
So whenever we have whenever you say something that just doesn't make sense, she's gonna flag it essentially. So could you just explain what a pledge is, like real quick?
Oh, okay. A pledge is the amount of fund you put on your pool. Like, how will I put this? Sorry, I'm looking for a simple term to use. The amount of funds you allocate to your pool that people can see, like advertise. I don't know. I don't know how to put it. I'm sorry.
All right. So from what I understand,
Can you help me?
I think you explained it. You explained it perfectly well. But I'm just going to reiterate basically what you said. To set up a staking pool, you need to have a certain amount of ADA to put up, just to kind of cement that you're going to have a staking pool. You have to put something up, and it's going to stay in that pool for as long as you're running it. You can't withdraw it essentially. It's kind of like the security that lets me know that when I'm just going to stake with April, she's not just going to close the staking pool and run off.
Yeah.
Right. So skin in the game, right?
Yeah, skin in the game.
Thank you.
What sort of is it okay to ask what sort of amounts, let's say the minimum pledge, the lowest level pledge, what is that numbers wise?
I don't
We can actually go on Pool Tool if someone wants to share their screen and pull it up, but you can have really low pledge. Some pledges are 0, right? So it actually there's an effect, right? There's a factor, the desirability, I think it's called, where the higher your pledge amount, it changes how much you actually are rewarded, but it's not that big of an effect actually. So there's not much of an incentive to have, whales in Cardano actually don't have a big leg up than people with 0 pledge at all. It's all about how much pledge you can actually incentivize to your pool, which is an effect of being, branding, third-party causes that you're a part of, value add things, services that you do with your pool. That really isn't about just being, the ability to produce blocks. Everyone can do that. So pledge actually doesn't play, as large of an effect. It can in the future because there's a variable that's tied to it, and the community can vote on that and update it if they want, maybe to reduce certain types of bad behavior that we're seeing from certain players. You can make pledge mean more so that there's more skin in the game, right? As Sidney says, right? And that makes it kind of more of a, egalitarian network for the smaller players, actually.
Okay. It kind of it makes sense, that it's not necessarily that it has to be a number, but just that there needs to be some sort of value.
It is a number. Right.
No, because you said it could be 0, for example, but but the whole key or the whole thing behind it is you need to have some sort of value, basically.
It's set by the market. It's the stake pool operators themselves, this column that you see James showing you, that's the stake pools themselves saying, hey, this is how much we think we should pledge, as long as you can make the average of this number. So if James goes all the way through, there's how many? 1,000 of them.
Oh, yeah, there's 1,000 pools. So I'm sorted from highest pledge. So the greatest pledge looks like it's 10 million, but only a handful are even higher than 3. If I
Okay.
sort the other way, I mean, I don't.
There's
I don't
loads
know.
of zero.
Right. So zero. So yeah, like not many have zero, but one is, 10 cents more than zero at this point. But what am I?
They make
And
blocks, right? There's some of them.
there's an entire economy kind of forming around it, right? Because the point of these stake pools is so that the network works in a way that that works for everyone. So the more stake pools you have, the more decentralized the network is. And there's some stake pools that are not going to do as well as some of the biggest stake pools. And so they're having those conversations in the community right now, like how can they maybe get these smaller stake pools to collaborate in a way so that they still can participate in the network and produce blocks on the network. So they're what they want to do is they just want to make sure that it's a fair system, and it becomes more fair by its decentralization. So they're doing what they can to make sure that it's a very decentralized network.
That's right. It's possible to be a really talented stake pool operator, but still not hold a lot of ADA, right? So where's the fairness in that? And so finding a way to navigate that is what the whole community is talking about right now. I'm here like the middle of the list. It looks like it's about 60K, if that helps. And there is a mechanism. This might be beyond the scope of our conversation right now, but Sidney mentioned securing the network. So having a variety of stake pools helps to secure the network, but then also a certain amount of pledge from each has a security effect. But there's like 23 different variables that contribute to that effect.
Okay, because there are so many things that you just said that I want to ask. Like, okay, so what do you mean secure the network, and like why? So I don't know if that's like the direction we're veering in, or
ask away.
Yeah, no, like as in so.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Like how does having like okay, so like obviously the whole thing is like everyone has control over this thing. It's not like, oh, there's like this elite group at the top and everyone has control. But then why does that mean that if there's more if there's more people in the stake pool system, then it means that there's less chance of like some people having like massive control?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
The more people who know any truth, whether it's on a machine or not, the harder it is to tell a lie. Right? So if you have a critical mass of people saying, no, this is the truth right here, then one bad actor, they're different stories.
They're just whistling in the wind, basically.
Exactly. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And, the protocol itself, like the consensus mechanism, like we talk about Bitcoin versus like proof of stake and like
protocol, consensus mechanism.
Yeah. Okay. Let me make it super simple, right? In Bitcoin, you waste a lot of electricity, right? That thing called proof of work, right? You burn a lot of electricity so that you can become the person who validates the next set of transactions. It happens every 10 minutes or so, right?
Okay.
In Cardano, we use our stake to choose one of these stake pools, right? It's all based on a lottery, and based on basically the amount of stake that they have under control, they can become the next slot leader, right? It's the same exact concept.
So the slot leaders are the people who verify the next transaction.
They're akin to miners in Bitcoin. They're the same thing. Slot leaders in Cardano, miners in Bitcoin. They make transactions happen. They take them out of the meme pool and they put them into a block and they put it on the blockchain. Everyone attests to it and votes that it's correct and honest. But if they're dishonest, right, and that's what you just talked about, why you have to have network security. They can be dishonest and put in a bad transaction, maybe a double spend from a transaction that already happened.
Okay.
But once all of those honest miners, right, in this case, in Cardano, honest stake pool operators, once they see that, they're going to reject it because they know the honest version of the chain, right? So that's why you want to have actually a lot of diversity in terms of, types of operating systems, types of
Mm.
setups for stake pools, distribution around the globe. So not just in one
Even
location,
time
actually.
zones. I'm thinking about that as well. Yeah.
Latency is so important. It's huge, and that's like that's like the whole kind of core behind being like a distributed, like decentralized proof of stake. It's so that you don't run into the Bitcoin world where there's like 10 pools that are all in China, that control like basically 50 to 60%. We don't even know, it could be more, of all of the mining power of Bitcoin. We never want that to happen. So
Okay.
And there's an attack that they can do on the network that's called a 51% attack, which means that if you own, let's say in our case, like 51% of the stake on the network, you can actually like attack the network and start rolling back transactions.
This is what Tashoma was talking about. He said that if that happens, then like people would literally form like a cutoff. Like, okay, you guys suck. We're gonna go over here and like expand over here away from whatever you're doing with your. Yeah.
If that happened, though, you would lose trust in the network as a whole, though. You know what I mean? So like if something that happens, then people would be like, oh, okay, well, I'm not putting my money in there anymore because you've lost trust and the integrity of the network. So that's why we want to prevent something like that from happening. So when you have the diversity of stake pools, that means that you can't get like one person or one group of people that are going to own 50% of the network that are going to attack the network, because they can't, you got stake pools in Africa, you got stake pools in Europe, you got stake pools in the US, you have them all over the place.
They're so scattered that you can't really collect them all and just kind
of collect them.
Yeah.
Right, and get them on the same page to say, hey, let's attack the network. So the more that you have, the more stake pools that we can, build, the more diversity in the network and the more secure the network is.
I just want to add on to that last point. Also, the actual stake, right? In proof of stake, the cost of ADA is directly tied to the security of the system, because like Sidney's point, right? What if there's just one, maybe large player like a nation state that just is collecting ADA and wants to 51% us? Then we don't need 100, stake pools. We just need one person that has 51%. So if you can have a higher priced ADA, and that person has to obviously keep buying and increasing the price as they buy, you can basically say your network security is half of your market cap, right? Because to attack the network, you have to own 50% of the tokens.
I felt like I understood what you were saying, and then
I love you.
Because I really felt like I understood what you were saying. I was like, let him talk more, and you'll understand. But it really
no. So proof of stake, right? You're securing the network based on the amount of stake you own, so the tokens that you actually have. So it's different from proof of work, right? Bitcoin, you use electricity, you use these big mining machines, and you hack an algorithm, and that's how you get to be the next, miner or slot. Right? In Cardano, it's based on how much stake you actually control. So if you can get 51% of the stake in Cardano, it's akin to having 51% of the hashing power in Bitcoin. It's the same concept. You can attack the network, and you can do things like
But your whole point was that you can't, like, if there's, that's where, like, so you were saying, like, something about raising the price or raising the...
So no, just the idea that in proof of stake, the price of the token, right, the market cap itself, an attacker would need to have 51% of that in order to actually successfully pull off a 51% attack.
Which is how much now?
51% of what? 51% of the whole market?
The market cap of the token for Cardano.
Token Cardano, like ADA, the token that powers Cardano, that's the only token that you can use to stake in Cardano. So everyone with ADA, everyone that has Lovelaces, right? That's a subunit of ADA, right? It's akin to having Nigerian Naira. What do you call the pennies in Naira? It's the same concept. Koba, exactly.
Yeah.
It's the same concept, right? So anyone who has those, it's like you can only pay taxes in Nigeria with Koba and Naira. It's the same thing in Cardano, right? So we're saying the higher the price of ADA, actually, the more secure your network is, because an attacker now has to go from owning, right now, let's say it's $1 billion worth of ADA, to maybe a year from now when it doubles, he has to own $2 billion, soon $10 billion.
Buy up
just to be able to attack the network.
To cover that 51%.
Attack, exactly.
Okay. I'm going to have to watch this back.
Yeah. But
like slowly.
in trying to own the network, you're essentially pushing up the price of the token.
Right, because you're
Right.
buying more and more,
And-
so you're increasing
and-
the price.
But then that
And you
benefits
can't-
everyone within the network already because. Okay.
Yeah, but you can't own it because in order for you to own that network, then you have to reach out to DC and be like, hey, can I buy all your ADA? You have to reach out to Tashoma and be like, hey, can I buy all your ADA? They have to reach out to all of us and say, hey, can I get all of your ADA? That
And then
way
it's up
I
to
can
us
get
whether or not we want to be, whether we're like, well, I don't really want to sell you my ADA. Why would I sell that to you?
I'll
And then,
sell you for
Right.
$100.
Yeah.
I'll sell it to you for $100. All right, that's fine. That's
right.
No, but like it depends. Like not everyone. Some people are going to be like, I'm going to hang on to that just because it's like the novelty of owning ADA. Whereas maybe some people might be like, oh, £1 million, yeah, sure,
Right.
but
Yeah,
But also,
but it's cost prohibitive.
you wouldn't be able to do that subtly because it's all a transparent market. You can't do like behind the scenes trades or anything. You know what I'm saying?
Right, it all happens on the market,
It
and
would be
yeah,
on the
and
blockchain, like someone bought.
and then people will notice as well because it's so many of them going on at like, let's say over a specific time period. People are like, hey, this one X person is purchasing. Okay.
yeah, yeah, and that helps provide security on the network.
That's right.
Oh, okay, yeah, that was the original point
You're getting
of
it.
this
You got it,
segue.
You're getting it.
One of my
That's
favorite
awesome.
things. I'm sorry if I broke the rules by putting any prices on the screen there. I was just curious, like what would half of the network cost? So just for reference,
Right.
I'm not speculating about the future by putting that up. But this is one of my favorite things about Cardano is it has attracted this incredibly kind of idealistic, open-minded group of people. Not everybody, you know, but I mean, I think there's a critical mass of people who are here for unbelievable reasons. But the entire Cardano project started with a group of researchers who had experience saying, let's assume the worst, right? Let's assume that if you build a great blockchain, of course someone's going to want to attack it. Let's assume all of these things could go wrong. And let's start by thinking about those things. And so there's all these, like the more I go into learning about Cardano, the more just interesting little facts I uncover. I mean, it's not worth like diving into those now, but the deeper I go into the literature, I'm like, oh my gosh, that was a thoughtful decision that somebody made because they saw down this pathway. And so all the math and game theory behind it is just unbelievable. It assumes that people are going to try to screw the network up, and then it tries to build in ways for even when that's happening, for that itself to make the network more valuable.
Yeah,
And fun.
Sorry, you go ahead, Matthew.
Yeah, just to add a little bit to what James said, you know, it even goes into sort of naming the various stages of rolling out Cardano. It just shows the thoughtfulness that went into, you know, sometimes you just, you know, you're looking for something and then you're like, oh, wow, you know, they thought about this already. And it's, you know, when it comes to Cardano, it's just different. It's sort of in a place of its own in terms of, you know, the naming of the various stages, the maps, the thinking, you know, just seemed like, you know, they just looked like 10 years and I'm sure more ahead and then just plan for everything. So, you know, that just makes Cardano, you know, one of those blockchains that's in a class of its own. Yeah.
So like,
and
reiterating James' point, like that's that kind of philosophy of like building something according to game theory. So it's like you're looking for bad actors, you know, you're basically like building a system for like to prevent bad actors. You're looking at it everywhere. That's what got me about Bitcoin, you know, because when you kind of looked at, you know, what Satoshi Nakamoto was doing at that time in 2009, like when we had that like financial crash and so on, it was essentially like, if you look at it in terms of game theory, it was like a checkmate to the financial system, you know, because they released a technology that you couldn't just keep in a box, you know, and once it evolved and gained more participants, it was something that you couldn't just like stop because there was like an incentive for people to keep on buying it and to share it and talk about it, and it created its own market. so like just pushing the conversation along. I'm sorry to cut you, Sidney, but like April, like what are you doing with ZOEPool that's making it so successful right now? Because I mean, no one was expecting you to reach how many blocks you have right now. Like, how many blocks do you have?
4.
Boom.
We have 4 blocks now.
And like, I mean, is it something you're just kind of like letting run essentially, or is it more like was there like a lot of work you had to do to get delegation and stuff? Like, just talking from the perspective of someone who's also thinking to maybe set up a staking pool like a couple months from now.
Okay. Marketing skill is very important for a stake pool operator. And for now, I'm just marketing my pool on Twitter. And, that's all. I just on Twitter and, pray for delegators to come. Yeah, that's, I don't actually do anything special, but planning on, creating, organizing meetups and hackathons for the community here in Nigeria, especially for women, because there are less women in this space. So yeah, we plan on doing that once ZOEPool is profitable and sustainable. We plan on doing that. Yeah, and it creates more awareness in Africa and bring in more delegators.
You see, I mean, this is the genius of it, right? I mean, so you found out about Cardano like a few months ago, and now you're like playing a key role in securing the network, and you're being incentivized to talk about it and share it with your friends and teach other people. It's just like pretty cool. Sorry, yeah. So Sidney, what was your point?
No, I think moving over to April and getting an idea about the staking pool. I was curious to know that as well. And April, would you recommend that folks consider building a stake pool?
Yes, I would. But before creating a stake pool, go over the guide from start to finish. Learn how the security steps to secure your keys, and so they don't make the same mistakes I made. I'll advise them to go over everything to know if they are capable of doing that or not before they just go in and end up losing funds like I did.
And so are you like, what does maintenance look like for you right now?
What
does maintenance or just kind of maintaining the pool, or do you just kind of let it go and it's doing its thing right now and you just keep an eye on it to make sure that it's still up and running?
Yeah, there is maintenance in stake pool operation, rotating the keys and checking if the nodes run, because that's what keeps the system going. So you have to constantly check your nodes if they are running. But right now, Hoga is helping me do that. So, but yeah.
Yo, you need to ask him if he can jump on the show next, because I want to know more about that. You need to ask him if he could jump on the show next, because I want to hear more about that story of you losing your keys and him jumping out and saving the day. Like.
Yeah, I kind of want to jump able to actually like create a stake pool. I think one of the biggest challenges there is to actually strategy before you think of creating a stake pool, because I mean there are like 1,000 stake pools there and barely 300 of those are actually minting blocks. So I mean you can get past like creating a stake pool and you do that successfully, but the hard work is actually in marketing the pool. Like I'm an ambassador, but I would think I would have like 200 million ADA or 50 million ADA, but we're very like appreciative of what we have right now, but I understand the struggle. Like putting your pool out, marketing your pool, it's like that's the whole creating the pool. 99% is marketing that pool and actually having people delegate to you. That's where the real work is. So you get past
and having
I think Azeezat wants to
I'm
ask a
sorry, go
question.
ahead.
Yeah, what would you say? What are the barriers to marketing your pool? Like, what are the things that you come up against that make things challenging? Like, yeah, that's the question.
Well, first of all, I mean, right now, Twitter is really saturated with stake pool operators. So, I mean, if you want to promote your pool right now, literally 90% of everybody already have their, their data delegated to other pools, right? So the challenge there is convincing people to actually pull out their funds and their ADA from, where it is originally to your own pool. So that's like the major challenge because everybody has been waiting for Shelley to launch so they can delegate their stakes, their ADA. So no one really have, unless for people that have their ADA stock in Bittrex, right? Those are the people that we have. Okay.
Sorry, just another question is coming to me. Is that if because in my brain, does it benefit you to be in multiple stake pools? Like, does that make sense? Like, if I was like, oh, a new stake pool's coming out, I'll put some of my Dana here, and then, this, do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like is that something that people don't do, or people are like, oh, this is my stake pool, this is my home base kind of thing?
Well,
I think that's what
I'm staking everything with Zoe. That's just me.
Yeah, for like one of the challenges with that is I feel there's not much should I say delegation education, because a lot of people have their delegation or their stake in oversaturated pool, right? So having them saturated pool, when the pool gets to saturation, it means that it's not going to be profitable, right?
Okay.
So and sorry, I missed the.
Oh, so my question was, if people, let's say I'm in one of these oversaturated pools, even if I was like, oh, I'll leave a few Adana here and then I'll drop some, do people kind of say, oh, obviously Tashoma's just said he's a one stake pool kind of guy, but is there benefit in being in different stake pools, or is that something that people do, or that's the question.
Yeah,
if you don't mind, I'll jump in.
They do that. Okay, go ahead.
Should I go?
Yeah, I was just gonna say. Oh, I'm sorry.
So what I've and I did this after talking to Josh some time back, that sometimes the people like Tashoma, they don't really help small pools that much, when they put all their ADA in there, because what happens is that when they decide to pull that, they decide to choose to change stake pools, then that small pool can actually collapse. But I know that with
maybe I'm just staying there for life.
Anyway, what I'm saying is, for me, what I decided to do was that I'm going to split my ADA, right? So a percentage of it goes into a smaller pool. And the reason that I do that, I have been with April. And the advantage of small pools is that you can get a big windfall, right? So you can get intermittent big windfall. And I saw this during the ITN. Oh, sorry, I'm introducing another thing, but that was a trial, a stake thing. Forget about it. But yeah, so basically I delegated to a small pool then, and it was good. On average, after the trial ended, I realized that my average APR was bigger than some of the popular pools that people were delegating to. But this time around, as I said, I've split, and then, give some to a small pool, get these intermittent big wins, and then, giving some other percentage to a bigger, it's not oversaturated.
Would you say a bigger pool is more let's say a regular kind of thing?
Yeah, so this is
pool might be kind of sporadic, but
the bigger one. So this particular one, if he or she, I don't know, but they had a big pledge. So right off the bat, he was one of the first ones to get out of the gate. So big pledge, got quite a bit of delegation. So I would say it's a mid-size kind of pool, and those ones tend to make consistent rewards. It's not big, but it's consistent. So that over I don't know, maybe 6 months or something, maybe we'll have, say, 4.5. Whereas sometimes with a small pool, over a period of 6 months, the average might be, say, 6%. So it all depends. Sometimes you want to spread your risk, kind of thing, or to see, okay, let me try, various, and then see what kind of, what comes back, right? I hope I make sense.
I think that totally makes sense. And I think that's what's happening. It's an economy. It's a marketplace. You get to choose. Each stake pool is going to give you a different return. So you're going to be able to decide what's important for you. You know what I mean? So I don't know if there's like one that's like better than the other so much. It's just going to be a bunch of different ones that you get different rates for that meant different blocks at different times and all of that type of stuff. So it really comes down to what you're looking to do in the ecosystem as far as like, how you want to delegate your ADA. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of tools that come out as the economy, as, the network grows a lot more, where people like, you're going to go on somebody's site and they're going to have all of the, the pools listed and which one you should, delegate to get this amount of money. And, so there's going to be people, moving their ADA around, I think, quite a bit. Although, like, with the network, there's a little bit of a disincentive to move your ADA around, because, like, when you take it out of one pool and you put it into another pool, but you have to wait, like, 10 days before you can start receiving rewards again. So 2 epochs for the most part, before you can start receiving rewards again. So I think there's a lot that kind of plays into it. It's all individual. It's like, yes, I think it's all individual. So it's like a marketplace.
We'll see what the final returns are. Like
Sidney, to your point, you don't actually stop.
Yeah. Yes, that's right.
So you say you don't?
When you redelegate, you stay delegated to wherever you were.
Oh, okay. And then
you're not
to the next epoch.
You're not in an empty zone for that time.
So you're literally earning your last one until the time that it takes for you to move to the new one.
Right. Okay. I've removed my delegation.
Okay, I didn't know that. Here,
okay. But yeah, the effects. It's a matter of the way ADA is counted on the blockchain's timeline, and kind of when those snapshots are taken. But what's interesting, I predict, honestly, a year from now, you're not going to see that much of a variation between the best and the worst performing pool, right? In the short term, if you want to have some fun, small pools mean, like Mercy said, you're gonna have these giant windfall days and then maybe a few weeks of nothing. But blockchain's timeline, I know, Mercy, so I'm looking in the chat. Aziza, yeah, we'll talk about that one too. But the thing is, what's fascinating about this, I've had friends ask me, so this is just like buying stocks, right? And one of the biggest differences is that stocks give you feedback in terms of their value after any amount of time, right? No matter, you can talk about what a company does, and hopefully people choose to pay a little bit of attention to how a company makes its money and factor that into their decision. But not everybody does, right? Because at the end of the day, stock price is a data point that gives us real information, and some stocks do way better or way worse than others, right? Stake pools are not going to give us that information. On a long time frame, you're going to have a pretty similar return from each one. And so a big argument in the whole community right now is like, how do you rely on ADA holders to make decisions that are beneficial for small pools or the diversity of the network, or any of these things that it's on the ADA holder to want to make those decisions for reasons other than the return they're going to get, right? And it's what proportion of people can you count on to think about all those different variables?
I want to say one thing. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Because but then as well is how readily available is that information, like around what each stake pool. Sorry, this thing. Anyway, what each stake pool's like values, or what they stand for, like how, like where does the everyday ADA holder see that and get to find out about that.
That goes back to what Joshua was saying about marketing, right? Your social media
I
game
wanted
to
to
get the
talk
word
about.
out there.
That's what I want to talk about as well, because it's like, yo, the reason I'm sticking with ZOEPool because like I like the idea of it. That sells it to me. It's like the only African-owned staking pool is like, yeah, I'm putting my money there because that's what I support. The profits come is my second pool. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But like talking about Josh's point, like I always thought that if I was a staking pool owner, I wouldn't necessarily be going for people within the community who already own Cardano. Like that's just like that's just like a very, very small pond. Like there's thousands, millions of people who aren't able to get like good interest rates from their bank. But now, because I'm, Zoe is a staking pool owner, she could, offer that service to someone else. And like, I don't know, like, how do you feel with that approach, April? Like, have you found it like difficult to like get people to actually buy Cardano and stake with your pool and get a new entrant in? Because I feel like, in terms of talking about the health of your pool in the long term as well, I mean, they're less likely to move their funds around. You know what I mean? They're just going to buy their Cardano and just stake it with you and just, see what happens. So as opposed to someone who's been in the ecosystem, has been speculating and trading and like looking for that profit every day, you know what I mean? So what do you think, April?
Everyone can't hear you.
Oh, your microphone's off. You just click unmute.
Sorry, I mean the question, I didn't catch the question.
So like, have you been finding it difficult to get new entrants into the community, like people who don't know about crypto, and you should tell them, hey, you can earn interest from your money by staking with me? Has that been difficult for you?
Yeah, a little bit, yes, it has, because many people know about Bitcoin. Bitcoin is more popular than Cardano. So to explain what Cardano is and everything is, it will be difficult to get them to transfer from Bitcoin to Cardano. But I've been able to convince up to 3 people about Cardano, and they seem interested. So yeah, they're ready to come.
I think generally people just like the idea of earning like return on investment, like passive income. So they can relate to that. Everybody here can relate to that. So for me, my experience has been like a little bit different. Everybody I tell, hey, do you know you can earn passive income just by investing in crypto? Boom, they're in. Like I have these people calling me every day, like, yo, how do I sign up for this thing? Because that's the language they understand, passive income, right? So, and that's what this is, if you think about it. So beyond like market, I don't really have to market what, if I'm going outside the community, I don't really have to market what ZOEPool represents, right? I mean, the ethics of ZOEPool, I can just market what they know, right? This bank pays you for having money in it, right? Then boom, that's their first introduction. Stick to it. They don't have to do any other thing. They don't have to learn about any other pool, right? They know this one works, and I can show them proof that it works. They stay here.
And to Josh's point, that's exactly how I sort of came into like ADA, because Tashoma sister was just like, she set up a group and she's like, guys, like we have our money groups. Like we have our, like, one of our friends did like a financial mastermind over a year. It was books. It was like, literally, it was really good. And then so Tashoma's sister was like, hey, blah, blah, blah. This is a way to like just have an investment on the side, And I was like, oh, that sounds good. That sounds cool. But I didn't do anything with it. And then I kind of bought some. I was like, okay, I've got some. What do I do with it? And then that's when I contacted Tashoma and was like, okay, tell me more. And then that's how this whole thing of, oh, okay, it's not just like some money over here just doing its thing. Oh, there's actual, like things going on behind that.
Wait, to what?
So it's like, I feel like that's like a really good entry point, just being like, oh, passive income, and then people's eyes slowly kind of open.
That's to add to your point, that's something we understand here, like in Africa, right? It's easier to tell someone, hey, earn, passive income from like investing in Cardano, right? And they can learn about what Cardano is later while they enjoy their passive income. So it's easier for me to just tell them, hey, why you're learning this thing, just keep earning, right? So, brings us back to the first point, right? The earn while you learn thing. This is like the way to go about it.
I think that's huge. We were just talking.
Yo, we're gonna close on that point, guys. We hit the 45-minute mark, but I think that was a great episode. Azeezat, it was great having you. April, yo, I wish you the best with ZOEPool. I'm gonna continue staking. I'm not gonna move my money around.
Same.
I'm gonna continue to try and get more and more people to stake with you, because I want to see ZOEPool become a success. And do we have any ideas for what we're gonna talk about next week? Are we gonna get maybe a mystery Russian developer to come on the show?
It'd be great to get Holger on here.
Oh, he said, I'm in contact with Holger, but he'll be available in 2 weeks because he has.
Yeah, we definitely need to get Josh's internet sorted out. Priority number 1.
Let's work on that.
That was like the cliffhanger. He has until next week.